Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. Here we are on a Thursday evening. We got we got Vanessa Moss. We haven't had Vanessa on these Wednesdays and Thursdays. How you doing, Vanessa?
I'm fine. Good evening, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Everyone that's watching this show, Detroit in Black and White, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. You can catch us on all platforms that include Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's X. All social media platforms you can catch Detroit in Black and White. You can also look at our previous episodes at www.detroitinblackandwhite.
Okay, Alan Lango, co-founder of Deadline Detroit. How you doing, Alan?
I'm good. I was in D.C. for 2 weeks, only meant to stay for 10 days. Got caught up in the whole Delta thing. They canceled my flight.
Are they going to pay you?
No.
You know, I see they slipped in 10,000 points, but I'm going to ask for more than that. That's nothing.
Did they pay for your stay?
You know what? I stayed with friends, but for food and transportation to the airport, I'm going to submit.
Yeah, Lango was over at Motel 6.
But you know what, guys? That's kind of scary that happened because there were so many people. It was one of my colleagues. He was stuck. He was in an Airbnb, of course, thinking he's coming home. He couldn't come home. Missed court dates, didn't know when he was going to be able to get back. It was terrible. So,
there had to be 10. I mean, there were probably 7,000 flights canceled in that whole time. And you 7,000 times whatever, 200 or how many people are on the plane. That's a lot of people stranded.
And it had an impact on the court system because, they couldn't look up things. We try to get things scheduled, we couldn't do any of that. So, technology is great when it works, but when it's not, it's terrible. It wreaks havoc.
Yep. Eric Brown, how you doing, Eric?
I'm chill. How you doing?
The most angriest man in Motown. And Jim Nardoni, how you doing? Chief, how you doing?
Well. Doing well down here in Trenton. There's a lot of activity. People are out. It's a beautiful summer night, and if you're around, come on down and visit us down here in Trenton. The restaurants are booming, so it's a good time.
Okay, we're gonna go to Vanessa since this is your first time being on during the week. Vanessa, Joe Biden stepped out. I told you he was leaving.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I called you and I said, man, how did you know? I first of all, let me say this. You were right. I didn't see it. You were right. But now in retrospect, I'm like, okay, the handwriting was on the wall. And really, I don't think that this was something, I think this is something that was planned. I really do. But he stepped out, and then you have the VP who is going to be the nominee. That's quite interesting. I've received all kinds of, my phone was going off like crazy. Joe Biden stepped down. And then the next thing I know, guess who the nominee is going to be? So this is going to be an interesting election season, especially with, the electorate. You have a lot. Hey, Karen, can't wait to see you on Saturday. We missed you last night. But at any rate, since women participate in politics far more than men, this is good. This is going to be a very, very interesting political season.
Okay, Eric, so what you think of the president saying I'm gone, and then we got the vice president, and all of a sudden, these folks are pissing all over, talking about she has slept her way up there. Donald Trump is a real asshole, but how do we deal with the vice president being a nominee? I assume she's gonna be the nominee for the Democratic Party. Your take?
Well, I was right before Adolph was right, Vanessa. I knew he was not going to continue on. I had told someone on Friday that by Sunday he would be stepping down. He stepped down on Sunday.
And as far as the vice president being the presumptive nominee, I think it's applicable. And in addition to that, I think it's very offensive for anyone to act like because I'm a black person, I have to support her. That's bullshit. 4 years ago, she was black. 4 years ago, she was a member of Black Greek Organization. 4 years ago, she was a member of HBCU. Where were the black people then with regard to supporting her? She dropped out in December 2019 due to lack of funds. No support from her own community, but now all of a sudden she's that girl. No, I wasn't voting for the Democrat or Republican anyway, so it didn't matter who was the nominee.
But Eric, Joe Biden, it took him 20 years to get the nomination. He done got his ass kicked all over the place. 88, 92, whatever.
Well, deservedly so. 88, he lied. 2008, he got less than 2% of the popular vote. But then all of a sudden, because he's running against Trump, he becomes that guy, the most votes ever for a presidential candidate. That's
Eric. Well, you know what?
Go ahead, Alan.
I'm going to say, Eric, you're ignoring circumstances change. Suddenly you're running against
Alan. What circumstances have changed?
Well, let me explain.
What you're saying is you're willing to subvert democracy. That's what the Republicans has been accused of all the time. So you willing to subvert democracy for a person that has never won a primary vote? She didn't go through the process to become the nominee. That's bullshit.
Well, let Alan go ahead.
Let me explain. Look, she's been from 4 years ago. She's been in the White House now for 4 years. She's got more experience as a result of that. The circumstances change. The opponents change. Donald Trump, suddenly people are like, okay, she's a younger person. We need somebody. Joe Biden. I think the Democrats were getting very nervous with Biden running. They stepped her in. And look,
they weren't getting nervous. They saw him losing. So they pivoted.
Well, that made him.
There's no question. Eric, you are absolutely right. Joe Biden is going to lose, for whatever reason, and I blame those folks that in the White House. Somebody was leaking to the Republicans that Joe Biden had some issues. Go ahead, Alan.
Well, I'm going to say that things changed. It's like circling. Look, Joe Biden stepped in because Trump was running. He said, "I've got to run," and he became the guy to beat Trump. And probably nobody else could have beat him at that time. Now we've got somebody.
Anybody could have beat Trump in 2020. Anybody could have beat him in 2020. A Bo could have beat him in 2020.
No,
you're wrong. No. I think.
Jim, what your take on this?
I think it's very interesting. I think that saving democracy by abandoning democracy is an interesting strategy. So, Alan, to your point, wait, nothing changed. What changed? Joe Biden is the same guy that he was 3 years ago. The only thing that changed is he was not going to be able to win. So what if the Republicans now realized that their candidate wasn't going to win? Can they just put another guy in there? Is that what
they sure can? They sure can.
Look, if Donald Trump stepped aside, that's his choice. If he wanted to step aside, which Biden stepped aside, he wasn't pushed out. He was forced. There was pressure,
he was pushed out. He was forced out. Same thing.
But it was his choice.
Let me say this.
He didn't
let
have
me
to.
say this. There will be people who will say that, in fact, things did change. 4 years ago, she couldn't raise any money. And one day, she raised more money than the current president. So things did change. People change. People evolve every single day. So the circumstances did change between 3 years ago and now. It has. Things have changed. The current president does not have, as the former president, he would use the word, he doesn't have the stamina to sit in office.
So Trump is the old guy now. Trump is the old guy, right?
Absolutely. He's the old guy. They're probably saying that he's the old racist guy. He's the old guy that does not respect women. He's the old guy who don't respect the fact that women should have a right to their bodies and do what they want with their bodies. He's an old guy who says, listen, I'm going to be an authoritarian. This is how I think this is how they're framing this. And again, like I said, this is going to be a really, really interesting race. I saw something the other day where they said that Disney, one of the biggest, the heir of Disney, who was a huge donor, she withheld her money from giving to the campaign for Biden, but now she's going to give money for Miss Harris. So so there's a big difference between now and then. There is a difference.
Let me ask Jim. Listen, we got the Republicans, Jim, saying all of a sudden the vice president is a DEI. She's not qualified. Why is it that the Republicans say anybody black that's running for whatever, that got a Harvard degree, that got a Yale degree, they are not qualified? You got Lauren Boebach, who got a GED, saying that Kamala Harris is not qualified. Is that going to play? Is that the game plan, or should they be talking about issues and what the Democratic Party stand for, instead of saying anybody that's of color is they get special treatment?
I don't care what party you come from. It's a disgrace to say that about our vice president. All right. She is the vice president. She deserves to be the vice president. She was nominated and she earned the nomination along with Joe Biden in 2020 to become the vice president. She's been the vice president for 4 years. I think that's a terrible strategy if that's what's going on. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, you shouldn't say that about anybody. She has the credentials. My only question, and Alan rolled his eyes, was you talked about Donald Trump, but he's the nominee. People voted for him. Not one person voted for the vice president to be president. And I'm more worried about the process than I am the person.
Yeah. It don't matter. But you know what? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, she's talked about DEI. In 2006, this state had a proposal on the ballot with regard to affirmative action. The governor won by a landslide. Democrats included said, fuck black people, and voted that proposal down for affirmative action. So quit playing the game of how Republicans are racist when you don't talk about Democrats being racist as well.
Let me say this. Isn't politics a game, though? Isn't a game? It's all a game.
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game called politics, and the pawns fall for it because the electorate nothing but pawns, and they fall for the bullshit time and time again. All we do is complain. 4 years, the blacks be complaining about the same shit. Republicans lose.
Listen, Eric, I know the Democrats are gonna give you a heart attack down the road, but Alan, go ahead.
I mean, first of all, when we talk about to address, which I've been trying to for the last 5 minutes address, and use an analogy of what has changed, it's like to use an analogy of dating, where a man and a woman meet each other 10 years ago. They meet at a party. They have absolutely no interest, and guess what? Then they meet again 10 years later, and suddenly it's like, I see something different. I'm open to it, whatever. My circumstances have changed. That's the politics of this. And when you talk about democracy, ideally, yes, it'd be great to have a primary. But, it's going to be Joe Biden is releasing his delegates. The delegates have a choice. They're not obligated. And so the delegates are voting. They were the delegates representing the voters. And so to say that there's no democracy is just propaganda that's being put out by Republicans and people trying to trash her.
Alan, it is what it
is. Before we go on, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to continue the conversation. Listen, Gerald Ford never got voted on, and he became the president. So I don't
exactly. Bingo. LBJ became president. President by assassination.
So we're gonna take a break and we'll be back. Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mungo.
Neighborhood beautification. That's very important to Detroit. It's very important to block clubs, organizations, and people who live in the community. We got started with 2 lots and a vision of a treehouse center. Because if we can take these blighted lots, Detroit give us grants to be able to do something with them that the community wants, it's a plus because we're bringing our neighborhoods back to where we want them to be, where they should be. All because I live in Detroit.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. The Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Welcome back to Detroit.
This is Alyssa Slotkin, Democrat running for the U.S. Senate. I want to share a story about who, more than anyone, taught me the importance of listening and accountability. It was President Barack Obama. I served in the White House on his national security staff. I got to see him in action, up close, and behind closed doors in the Oval Office. First, he was brilliant, and therefore demanded people really knew their stuff. It was President Obama who grilled me on issues and demanded accountability on what we said and did. That commitment to accountability is exactly the approach I use today, listening to our communities. It's why I've written an opportunity agenda with detailed plans to strengthen Black businesses, increase Black wealth, and provide real opportunities for our youth. Because, as President Obama taught me, you better say what you mean and mean what you say. So that's why I approve this message.
Vote early or on August 6th for Alyssa Slotkin, Democrat for U.S. Senate. Paid for by Alyssa Slotkin.
Okay, Vanessa, how you look? How you think that Kamala Harris is going to do here in Michigan, and are your sorority sisters and all the other sisters is going to jump on a bandwagon?
Well, I get the sense that my sorors and my D9 sisters are going to jump on the bandwagon. Why do I feel that way? It's because I got text messages. I had a fundraiser last night, and some of my D9 sisters were there, and that, in fact, was the conversation about supporting Vice President Harris. That's what they were talking about. So I think that it certainly is a situation where you have something that you didn't expect to happen, right? So I think that women are the women that, at least the women that I've come in contact with, are really, really excited. I've even had conversations with women who have said, listen, 3 years ago, I wasn't checking for her at all, but I'm supporting her now.
Well, you know, I'm beat her ass all the way up.
So, I mean, I've had people say that to me. So, you know, what I say, and I've said this time and time again, listen, the wonderful thing about us living in these United States is we get to have our own opinion. We get to have our own opinion and our independent voices. So whoever you vote for or whoever you don't vote for, that's your business. And guess what? I don't get to beat up on you because you don't agree with me. You don't get to beat up on me because I don't agree with you in terms of who you're supporting in this election cycle. But what it is important is that I think that people should make sure that their voice is heard.
JD Vance called Trump Hitler, America's Hitler. Now he's the vice president candidate for the Republican Party, Allen.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I say J.D. Vance called Trump Hitler. Now he's giving.
Well, that's, I guess, circumstances change. Well, for him, it's opportunity.
Right.
I think he was the worst pick for if Trump had any ambition to expand his footprint, he would have picked. I mean, Marco Rubio could have moved to Virginia. It would have been a much better pick. I think the North Dakota governor would have been a better pick. He picked the guy who's really a nationalist white Christian who wants to promote that, who's trying to shame people who don't have children. He's anti-abortion, no exceptions. I mean, he's kind of an extremist. And Trump, somehow, I think Trump was maybe impressed with his, with his pedigree or his degrees. I mean, he claims to be a hillbilly, but I think it's a liability for Trump, and I think it's going to come to bite him in the ass for
Eric.
Definitely feel he should have not picked J.D. Vance. He should have picked Tulsi Gabbard or either Nikki Haley. I think that would have been a game changer for him, and he may live to regret it, but, we'll see. And, again, to Vanessa's point, at the end of the day, I advocate voting, but I understand why people don't vote. Since I've been alive, as little as 49% of the electorate voted in 1996, as much as 62% voted in 2020. So there's still a whole lot of people that do not vote. They don't vote. Voting is not a priority. It's not an obligation. I respect those that don't vote because I understand why they don't vote.
And you know what? Let me piggyback on what Eric just comment that he just made. Listen, when I was out there collecting signatures, I think I told you guys that people are like, we don't trust the government. We don't give a doggone. People didn't want to sign the nominating petitions. People have definitely checked out. I will even say in my own family, people have checked out. Much to my dismay, right? And I'm hoping that I just keep hope alive that they will eventually check back in. But it has so much to do with how divisive things have been and how they feel like they really have been left out. Because for years, people vote. I'm talking about the working class. Listen, the working class is the heart of America, okay? The working class people feel like they have definitely been dogged out, right? Trumped on, and everything else. And so they feel like, you know what?
It's still no excuse. I want to ask.
I don't think there's an excuse, but I think it's a reality.
I want to ask Jim. We were talking earlier about you wanted to talk about Bill McGraw, who one of the co-founders of Deadline Detroit, hell of a journalist from the Detroit Free Press, author, historian, etc. Go ahead.
But I think this all ties together. First, thanks. It looks like Megan. My eyes are tired, Megan. Thank you for commenting. We appreciate it. She's excited. She thinks it's like an Obama type moment, and good for Megan. Good for the people that feel that way. If they feel that way, more power to them. I think that's great. It's funny. I was looking at this election a little differently, and I have no problem with Kamala Harris. My only problem is going back. They could have picked her a year ago, but she probably couldn't have got the votes to be the nominee. And that's where the conflict comes in. Back to Bill McGraw and Deadline Detroit in 2013 in October, he wrote an article about Mike Duggan and how Mike Duggan was put in office. And I've talked to people over the years. It's a lot of people, residents of the city of Detroit, that do not believe that Mike Duggan was the proper, duly elected mayor of Detroit. Well, he received 44,000 votes, write-in votes, and we know that it cost him about $6 million, and that $6 million came from guys like Roger Penske and Peter Karmanos and these kind of folks. So Dan Gilbert, all the Detroit players. I don't. If you have some other names, that's fine, but those are the ones on the tip of my tongue. But you have to ask yourself, where are we headed in this country? It's a bigger question. This isn't about the vice president or the candidate on the other side. Our country is turning into a plutocracy where
Where have you been? Why do you say it's turning into? I mean, come
It's
on.
already been.
We for decades and decades. I don't think it's like I mean, look, Donald Trump, don't let him fool you that he's like one of the people. I mean, all these people are part of this power structure. All these people are donating. Dan Gilbert donated, I think in 2016, donated $1.2 million to Chris Christie's campaign. Peter Kamanos donated a lot of money to Kasich's campaign. I mean, this has always been. I don't know why. Well, explain to me why you think it's sudden.
I didn't get to my point yet. My point is, why would you vote if you're a resident of Detroit when you have no bearing on the government? You're just voting and you have no say, and that's why the people of Detroit are so unhappy. Some folks in Detroit are unhappy that Mike Duggan became the president.
But it's all over Michigan, Jim. It's in Trenton. It's in Malverdale. It's in Taylor. It's in Lansing. It's all over the place. Here we are. Eric, what is percentage of people that voted in Michigan when Donald Trump won? If Hillary could have got some more folks out in Detroit, she probably would have won Michigan. Am I correct?
Yeah, she only needed, I think, 10,000 plus votes in 2016 to win. And a lot of people of color, particularly men, who were not feeling her, decided not to vote. No different than in Wisconsin. So at the end of the day, even getting back to Vanessa's point to tie in what Jim just said, people are disengaged because the powers that be, corporate America, hell, $7 million was just donated from Netflix today to the Kamala Harris campaign. So why are we even voting?
Problem with that. I have no problem with that. Listen, I beat up on the vice president because I thought she was not the pick. I thought Biden could have picked Stacey Abrams. I didn't like Kamala Harris.
No, my point is the money is how these elections are being bought by corporate America, and that's why so many people are checking out. That's why people are so disengaged. They don't see that their vote matters. They don't see
still got 40 million people voting. Elon Musk, what is that?
$45 million a month he wants to donate.
But he retracted that and said that's not what
he's a real asshole because nobody's buying Teslas because the hillbillies ain't buying Tesla. And the people that buy Teslas ain't voting for him. So he had to jump back and say, okay, I'm not giving that money. But
you also, Adolf, to your point, about the percentages, I think the second time that Duggan won mayoral position in Detroit, only 19% of the people voted. The first time it was only 21%. Last time it was 25%. So you have 75% or more people in 3 consecutive elections did not vote in the general election.
Well, Sri Thanadar got 25, 26%, and he's the congressperson.
Well, you had 2,500 people running in that race, though.
Well, whatever. But he won. But listen, as
he's putting out Sri Thanadar. I was going to say Sri Thanadar. I'm getting his mailings. Putting out a very aggressive campaign against Mary Waters. First of all, accusing her
with money. You got the money.
Did you see that commercial?
I'm going to say he's accusing her of being against gay marriage. He's bringing up the point that she was convicted on
whoever doing his campaign. I wouldn't put Mary Waters on TV. He's an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. He put her on there. Donald Trump got 45 indictments. Listen, I'm telling you, that shit don't work. Don't vote for Mary Waters because she's a thief. If people like me, they elected her to city council.
Right.
Obviously, the city of Detroit like a thief. Now, I'm just telling you. But anyway, as I'm gonna go to you, Jim, and then Eric. Your final thought, Jim.
I'm bringing it back full circle. I'm finishing my long story here and suggesting that I think people are excited. People like Megan. I hope whoever you're excited for that you vote for them and you come out. But I don't see it. I think that the excitement may die down here in a little bit. I don't know if it's going to hold for 90 days.
It's not going to.
I think if we just started. Alan,
started.
I mean, not Alan. Eric, go ahead.
And I'll pull back on what Jim said. I don't think it's going to, sustain itself. To say that she is amazing as Barack Obama. First of all, Barack Obama was inspirational. I don't see anything inspirational about
Barack
her.
Obama was full of shit. He fucked up the Supreme Court. I didn't listen. Listen. Barack Obama dropped the fucking ball, so he ain't that great. I like him.
But listen, I think what Eric was saying is that when he was inspiring. That's what Eric was saying.
He didn't inspire me.
He's not talking about his record. He's not talking about his record.
We'll go to you, Vanessa.
Did you vote for him, Adolf?
He did twice.
Yeah, I would vote for. I would vote for King Tut before I vote for Donald Trump. Go ahead, Vanessa.
A dead King Tut.
Okay.
Obama didn't run against Trump.
Go ahead.
So my final thought is for all those that watch this show know that I am running for 36th District Court. I am a write-in candidate. It is funny that we were talking about, I think it was Eric that brought up Mike Duggan, or somebody talked about Mike Duggan and how he did a write-in campaign. Jim. And I think you said it was $6 million or some astronomical. I don't have that. But what I do have is the will and determination and the team behind me. What I'm going to ask, what I'm asking for people to do is to write my name on the ballot. When you flip that ballot over, you could take the easy route and circle in, the spot. But you know what? I'm challenging people to write VANESSA. Is a very easy name.
And there's an empty space there to do that.
There's an empty space there. And listen, when you're talking about
y'all heads on the ballot.
I'm sorry?
He says an empty space. I say not in your heads, but on the ballot. So
right. Right. Absolutely.
That's all they got to remember.
Okay,
right.
Alan.
Absolutely.
We go to Alan. Your final thought.
I'm going to say Barack Obama was one of my favorite presidents, but he wasn't perfect. He dropped the ball. Every president falls short of what they should be, but I think he had integrity. But I'm going to say this race is just getting started. I think it's going to be a wild race. I think it's going to be an exciting race, and we'll see what happens. The people will choose in the end.
The people are going to choose. I'm gonna tell you. If you listen to the rappers and the strippers and the dope heads, they love Donald Trump. And I don't know why. And my final thought is they need to give Stacey Abrams about $10 million in Georgia because she can deliver Georgia. They need to come here. Democrats got money here in Michigan. They ain't spent a quarter. They ain't spent a quarter in the black community. They haven't done shit. So, if the Democrats lose this election, I only blame them. I'm only going to blame them. It's like when Freeman Hendricks ran against Kwame Kilpatrick, he had $300,000 left in the bank because he didn't want to spend it, and he lost. So,
how many of those books did you read? Adolf, that Stacey Abrams wrote. Is that why you like her? You read her books?
Oh, I don't. I'm illiterate. I can't read or write.
I've got a question. I have a question.
Right. But anyway,
I have a question. With that $300,000, is that his, or does he have to do something with it?
No, he had to do something with it because they changed the name of the game when Coleman Young raised $1 million. They used to can take the money and put it in a personal account. They changed the game. So anyway, we'll be at the David Whitney on Saturday. And, I want to thank Vanessa Moss. Thank you, Vanessa. For coming on today. Alan Lango, you were stranded at JFK. You probably was doing all kind of shit at the airport.
Getting sushi at the airport.
Eric, thank you, Eric. Stop texting, Eric. We don't want to read none of your subversive stuff.
You just said you're illiterate. You can't read. So what you talking about?
Teresa, thank
And he
you
write
very
books.
much.
Right, he write books.
Ramsey, they got the best breakfast in the world. Mia, Johnny, but I'm gonna go across the street to the barbecue place. Y'all don't have
it. He'll track
but
you down.
anyway, thank you. We'll see you on Saturday.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
And Karen Winston.
Karen Winston.
Huh. Are we ending or not?
Karen Winston
It
story.
still says live.
Okay, we're still live. Well, here.